Welcome to the 22nd episode of Anycast, and the first one in the year 2021. And for those who survived 2020 or are new in 2021, this is just my podcast on YouTube where I talk about any topic that's going on, although it's predominantly sports. So we wouldn't be starting off without the college football playoffs since that took place last night, and we had a couple of dominators. One was not a surprise, and both of them made me happy. The first one is the least surprising. That is Bama dismantling Notre Dame. I mean, don't get me wrong. Notre Dame at times look like they deserve to be there, but come on. Are you really going to stop Bama and Nick Saban? Although the real highlight of that game was at halftime. And I will give Allison Williams, who was the sideline reporter for ESPN for that game, a major props along with her crew for trying to fix the situation. Because for those of you who probably haven't seen it yet and have not gone on to social media, there was an issue with the mic and Nick Saban could not hear Allison Williams when she asked him questions for the halftime adjustments. So they made adjustments, and eventually they got the bugs fixed and so on and so forth, but I'll leave you to watch on social media. Bottom line is Bama kicked some dominator, and they're moving on to the national championship game where they will play, drumroll, and spoiler alert, this is the surprise, Ohio State Buckeyes, because they absolutely thrashed Clemson in the Superdome. And I am so glad that that happened, and you're wondering why. Well, if you did not see Dabo Swinney's final poll that he put out there, he put Ohio State 11th. He has his reasonings, although I'm giving it to you. He thought teams that played way more games than the Buckeyes deserved to be up there and ranked, which is why you probably saw Coastal Carolina ahead of the Buckeyes when you saw his poll. Rule number 1, never give bulletin board material. Besides, the Buckeyes were already fumigating after what happened in last year's playoff meeting between these two. So you knew that was just going to further motivate them. And Justin Fields had the game of a lifetime, out-dueling Trevor Lawrence, and by golly, did his draft stock go up big time. Because not only did he deal with a rib injury that he got hit on when the Clemson player got hit with a targeting call and got ejected, second year in a row in that building, by the way. He came back after one play he missed, threw a touchdown, and then proceeded to play the rest of the way and dominate the Clemson defense. Toughness, tenacity, physicality, great player. He's going to be with the Jets because, as you probably know, and we'll transition into that a little bit later, but you probably know. We'll transition into it later. So that sets up the Buckeyes to face Bama for the national championship on the 11th. So that's a week from this upcoming Monday. And so that should be a real interesting one. They've already got Bama favored as 7 points. So I think that might be motivation for the Buckeyes to, go kick some more hiney. I hope that that's a good game. I will probably be leaning towards the Buckeyes because it's nice to see somebody else win, and Ohio State has not won the title in a few years. Plus, this will further silence the critiquers who did not want Ohio State in the playoffs because, they didn't play enough games. Look, the bottom line is the goal of the playoffs is to get the 4 best teams. Based on last night's performance, Ohio State was clearly one of the 4 best teams, and I applaud the committee for putting Ohio State in as a 6-0 Big Ten champ because they clearly deserve to be in the playoffs. By the way, the ACC has not looked impressive in the bowl season. By the way, the Big Ten has looked impressive in the bowl season. So, further proof that helps the Buckeyes' case. And at this point, I don't care what they do against Bama. They've already convinced me otherwise, and I have supported them that they should be in the playoffs regardless of what happens elsewhere. And I'm glad that the committee did it, and I'm glad the Buckeyes proved that they deserve to be among the 4 best, because they are. I'm going to leave it at that. You can comment as you please on the comment section of the video. Now let's transition to the other playoffs, or I should say the playoff chase in the NFL, because well, we'll start with the bottom. Jacksonville, congratulations. You own the first pick in the draft because the Jets are the worst tankers in the history of mankind. You had one job. Do not win a game. You picked a horrible time to go on a 2-game winning streak, and now you're no longer getting the number 1 pick. But there's good news for you Jets fans. You may still get Justin Fields. Unless you're stupid enough to think that Sam Darnold and Gase, primarily Gase, is still good enough for you. Because Gase should be fired. I don't know if Darnold will get another chance or not, but if they decide to go elsewhere, this is where Justin Fields opened up his stock and raised it with last night's performance. Now, if he can have another strong showing in the championship game and go toe-to-toe with Bama, I think that really pretty much solidifies him as the number 2 pick in the draft. Because we all know Trevor Lawrence is going to Jacksonville since he'll be number 1. But I don't have time for the bottom feeders. Let's move on to those who are actually in the playoff hunt. It all comes down to tomorrow, as a famous quote would say. And amazingly, the Bears still have a chance to make the playoffs. I can't believe they're still alive for it. And all they have to do is win. That's the good news. They control their own destiny. Here's the bad news. They have to play Green Bay, and the Packers are still playing for home field. Good luck with the Packers. I heart Aaron Rodgers. Ha! As Frank Caliendo once said. Yes, Green Bay is still in control for the number 1 seed, but they have to win in order to get it. However, I think they're going to be the team to beat in the NFC because if you did not watch the Sunday night game last week, Green Bay absolutely dominated Tennessee in their own game. They pounded them with the ground attack in the nice snowy conditions at Lambeau Field, and this is why I think Green Bay needs to get home field. I don't care if they're not going to have that many fans at the stadium. When you have to go up to Lambeau Field in frigid cold temperatures, and most of the teams that are going to be in the playoffs are in warmer climates, yeah, good luck with that. That's why I think it's important and urgent for Green Bay to win and get home field. That, and you can eliminate your hated rivals at the same time. Wouldn't that be a nice double excellent kickoff to the new year? But the teams still alive for home field are also the Saints and the Seahawks, amazingly. Both those teams have wrapped up their divisions. By the way, did you see Alvin Kamara on Christmas Day? This is what the NFL needs to do. They need to have more Christmas Day games. You can compete with the NBA because you know that's always their time. And look what happened. We had an historic performance. For the first time since 1929, which is the only other time that this happened, a running back ran for 6 touchdowns in a game. And isn't it fitting that Alvin Kamara did it wearing red and green cleats, even though the stinking NFL fined him just yesterday for this? I mean, literally, 1 week after this game, they fined him. Come on, NFL, you got to be nice. It's Christmas. He's wearing Christmas-related cleats. It's a good thing. What's not good is the fact that he tested positive for coronavirus, so he's probably going to miss the game against the Panthers. That's a vital game, especially if the Packers end up losing, which there's a slight possibility that happens, but I am absolutely confident that Green Bay is going to beat the Bears. I don't know if they're going to destroy them like they did the last time, but I believe they will beat the Bears. Seattle did ramp up the West by beating the Rams, and all of a sudden, the Rams are in danger of missing the playoffs because prior to that, they were the team that handed the Jets their first win of the season. You lose to the Jets, you lose to the Seahawks, now you lost Goff and Cooper Kupp. Goff injured his thumb, and it's likely he's missing the game against the Cardinals, and Cooper Kupp tested positive for the coronavirus, so he's out. On the other hand, the Cardinals are dealing with injuries of their own. Kyler Murray, in the defeat to the Niners, suffered a leg injury, but he is going to try to tough it out and will go. That is basically an elimination game. The loser is out, the winner is in, and depending on the outcome, the Bears could still sneak in with a loss. Let's hope that doesn't happen if you're a Packers fan, because I don't want to see the Bears in the playoffs. Over on the AFC, the Chiefs did wrap up home field advantage, but the champs, I think, have to be a little concerned about their play as of late. We'll see if they can kick it up in the playoffs. I think they're just playing bored to death because they're ready for the playoffs to get started. I, quite frankly, don't blame them. However, one team they got to watch out for is Buffalo. There is no team hotter than the Buffalo Bills, and there is no quarterback hotter than Josh Allen. He has absolutely torched the competition as of late. And look what he's done down the stretch. Beat the Steelers on Sunday night. On a short week, on a quick turnaround at Denver, smash the Broncos. Then come back on Monday night in Foxborough and smash the Patriots. I know New England's in a down year. And by the way, they are not going to make the playoffs. That is breaking news, people. But the Bills are on fire, and they are absolutely a dangerous team in the AFC, which is still undecided as to who's making it in besides Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and the Chiefs, who at this point are safe and have already secured a spot. Tennessee appears to be in good shape. All they got to do is win and they're in. The following can get in with a win. The Dolphins. Yes, that's right. The Dolphins, who are going to be starting Tua Tagovailoa again after what Fitzmagic did in relief. Mainly because Fitzmagic has tested positive for coronavirus as well. He is out. So that'll be interesting if Tua struggles again. But the Dolphins win and they're in. The Ravens win and they're in. The Browns can still get in with a win even though they lost to the Jets. Although in their defense, they did not have the top 4 wide receivers. And that was right towards the end of the week, right before kickoff. So that's a quick turnaround to try to adjust and stuff. So I give the Brownies a pass. We'll see if they can bounce back against Pittsburgh, who is, by the way, starting Rudolph, because Pittsburgh realized, well, it doesn't matter if we're the 2 or the 3. We're going to be home for Wild Card Weekend. It's just a matter of will we get that extra home game, which at this point doesn't really matter to us. We just want to make sure that we're healthy and ready to go for the playoffs, which sets up an interesting plot. Garrett versus Rudolph. The last time those two hooked up, well, you probably have seen it all over YouTube and whatnot. Garrett smashed Rudolph with a helmet. Yeah, that's not cool. We'll see how that works out. I'm pretty sure we're not going to see anything remotely close to that, but that's a big game for the Browns. If one of those 3 teams that I mentioned that can win and get in happens to stumble, that opens the door for the Colts to get in with a win. They're going to need some help. They'll need that win and one of those teams to lose, or if Tennessee happens to lose, and if Indy wins, they can win the division as well. So, there's a lot still on the line in the AFC, but it's pretty much cut in stone that you pretty much have your team set. Now, moving back over to the AFC, or the NFC rather. Yes, the NFC lease is still up for grabs, and when you know it, the Cowboys are alive and well, just when we're about to write them off with all the injuries they've dealt with. They play the Giants, who amazingly also still has a chance to win the division. The winner of that game will be rooting hard for Philly, because if Philly beats the Washington football team, the winner of the Giants-Cowboys game makes the playoffs. Why Joe Buck is calling that Cowboys game is beyond me. You have the Packers, for crying out loud. That's a better game in my book. But I digress. Now, if the Washington football team does beat the Eagles, then it doesn't matter who wins the Cowboys-Giants game earlier. Washington is in the playoffs. The only team that's out of it is Philly, and boy, they could impact the division. And a lot of tanking purposes for all intents and purposes. So, this is exciting. As you can tell from the energy that I have, this is the most exciting time of the year. We are down to the home stretch. We are almost done with the football season, and it's amazing that we've been able to get through both college football and the NFL, despite our hiccups with the coronavirus. We're still pushing on, and we are looking very good. And the NBA also tipped off their season, and they're in full swing. So it looks like things might be, from a sports perspective, starting to get back to normal. Men's hoops is also in action. Women's hoops is also in action. Pretty soon we're going to have the NHL. They'll be back in action on the 13th of January, so that'll be exciting. And then hopefully baseball shortly thereafter that. So, and NASCAR is also going to be back before you know it, because you know NASCAR is like the longest sport. They pretty much race every month, and they have like a couple of months of a turnaround to get ready for the next season. So I think we're starting to get over that push. And why is that? Because as we transition into the big news, I want to save this for last. We finally have vaccines out. So I'm hoping that this will help get the coronavirus pandemic under control and we can put an end to it. So here's to a hopefully much better 2021, but continue to stay healthy, continue to wear a mask, because at this point, this is still going to be as helpful as the vaccine. If you're not able to get the vaccine yet, please wear a mask and continue to keep your social distancing as best as you can. But here's to a healthy 2021, and I hope to catch you next time. So see you later.